Hello, and thank you for joining this presentation on head lice in the school-age child. My name is Amanda Schrader, and I am a nursing student at Indiana State University. Learning objectives. By the end of this presentation, you should be able to recognize common signs and symptoms of head lice infestation in children, be familiar with treatment options, including FDA-regulated and natural options, understand the louse life cycle, and be able to recognize the different stages of a louse, understand how lice are transmitted, be familiar with common myths associated with head lice infestations, recognize what should be done in the home if an infestation is discovered, and understand recommendations for schools as suggested by the American Academy of Pediatrics. What are head lice? Head lice are tiny parasitic insects. They're about 2 to 3 millimeters in size. Think of a sesame seed for comparison. A louse is singular, lice is plural. Lice are a common problem among school-age children throughout the world. Lice live close to the scalp and feed on tiny amounts of blood that they scavenge from the scalp. Symptoms of an infestation. If you notice that your child is itching their head frequently, especially at the base of the skull and behind the ears, they may complain of tickling on their head. You may notice changes in their sleep pattern. Lice are more active in the dark, and it tends to bother children more when they're trying to sleep. If you notice sores or scratch marks found on the scalp, there's a possibility that your child has an infestation of head lice. The life cycle of a louse. There at the bottom left, you can see different stages from a nymph all the way up to an adult, a full-size adult. On the right, you can see the graphic. Lice start off as eggs, also called nits. They hatch after 6 to 10 days after being laid. When they hatch, a nymph comes out of the nit. A nymph is an immature louse that matures to adult in 9 to 12 days. And then the nymph is considered a full-size adult. Adults can live 3 to 4 weeks, and females can lay up to 6 to 10 eggs per day. How are they transmitted? Head lice is typically transmitted with head-to-head contact. That's why oftentimes you will see it in a school daycare setting, after slumber parties. Lice are quick, and they crawl. They scatter oftentimes. They don't like light, so if you shine a light on them, they'll move very quickly. Lice do not jump and can't be transmitted by jumping from one host to another. They can also be transmitted indirectly through the sharing of hats, brushes, and pillows. Lice are not picky. They do not care whether you are dirty and have poor hygiene, if your hair is clean, if you're rich, if you're poor. They don't care if you live in the country or in the city. This affects all types of people from all kinds of socioeconomic backgrounds throughout the world. Don't believe the hype. These are some myths associated with head lice. Lice are not transmitted by pets. They're not fleas. They can't live on a pet and then jump to a human. Lice is not a sign of poor hygiene. Lice don't care whether you live in a clean home or a dirty home or have clean hair or dirty hair. They do not care. Lice are not associated with the spread of any sort of disease. They are a nuisance, but they don't spread any sort of illness. And lice are not influenced by hair length. Boys and girls both can get lice. It doesn't matter if your hair is short or long. They don't care. They just need a tiny bit of hair to attach onto and a scalp to feed from. This is a picture of a knit attached to the hair shaft. All about knits. Knit is another name for the egg that the adult female lays. She attaches the knit to the hair shaft very close to the scalp, and uses a really strong sticky substance to stick the knit on there. If you're not sure whether you're looking at a knit or dandruff, if you can take your toothpick or whatever you're using to comb through the child's hair, if you touch that piece of material and it falls off, then it's dandruff or debris. It's not a knit. If you try to push it off and it doesn't move, then odds are that it is possibly a knit. They're very sensitive to temperature. That's why they're laid so close to the hair shaft. When the nymph hatches, the knit still remains attached to the hair shaft if it's not removed. So they will crawl out of that knit and move on, and that knit will stay attached until it is removed or the hair grows long enough that it gets cut off at the next haircut. How to check for lice. Have the child sit in a well-lit room. It's helpful to have a small handheld flashlight or maybe your phone in one hand. Start by parting the hair into small sections. Using a toothpick can be helpful, or the end of a Q-tip to comb through the child's hair all the way around the head. As mentioned earlier, lice will scatter when exposed to light, so you have to pay attention and look, because if there's one there and you shine that light on it, they're going to move quickly. But that also, the movement kind of helps you detect and be able to see them better, since sometimes they do blend into the hair and the scalp. If adult lice are seen, you can try to grab those and remove them. Have a piece of tape or something nearby that you can stick it onto once it's removed from the child's head. You can also purchase a knit comb, which can be used to help remove those knits off of the hair shaft. Treatment options. Here are the three most popular medicated treatment options. On the far left, you have permethrin. It's the most studied and common brand name for that is called Nix. You can apply that to damp hair, let it sit for 10 minutes and rinse. That lotion leaves a residue on the hair that can kill nymphs when they hatch. It doesn't kill all of them. There's about a 20 to 30% rate that are not killed. That's why the directions will have you retreat in 7 to 10 days. The middle medication there is a more natural option, but it is neurotoxic to lice, not humans. The common brand name for that is Rid. That is also a shampoo that you can apply to dry hair and let sit for 10 minutes and then rinse. There's no lotion or anything that's left on the hair, unlike the first option. So any nits that are present will still hatch and the nymph will not die. So that's why retreatment for that is necessary. Efficacy for this medication is decreasing due to resistance found among lice. Last option on the right is a prescription strength lotion that's applied and then you let it sit overnight. It has the highest cure rate of these options. However, it's highly flammable, so you wouldn't want to use a hairdryer or anything like that nearby. Natural options. Some parents prefer to use a natural option such as essential oils. Studies are not known on the effectiveness of essential oils because it's not regulated by the FDA. Mayonnaise and olive oil are sometimes used as a treatment because they are believed to suffocate lice. Or you can sit and manually remove all of the lice and all of the nits. It's very time consuming and tedious. It can be done, but you have to make sure you don't leave any nits behind. One nit left behind that produces a nymph that grows into an adult louse, then you have the problem all over again. What should you do at home? All family members in the home should be checked for infestation. Clean all hair care items such as brushes and combs. Stuffed animals that the child may sleep with can be bagged or placed in the dryer on a high heat. Wash all bedding, blankets, pillows, etc. Pillows and blankets from the couches as well. Extensive cleaning is not necessary. Lice typically die within 48 hours of falling off of a host. So after a few days, those lice that remain in the home should die. But it definitely warrants having the bedding cleaned and taken care of. In the school setting, school nurses, educating parents is key. A lot of parents haven't dealt with lice before or have dealt with it ineffectively. Make sure you educate them on what they can do in the home. Routine classroom screening is discouraged. Oftentimes, there's not an outbreak in the classroom setting, especially with social distancing these days. Kids don't tend to get that close. Oftentimes, if there is any spreading, it's due to slumber parties or sharing a bed with friends. The American Academy of Pediatrics, as well as the National Association of School Nurses, discourage exclusion from school, as well as discouraging the no knit policy that some schools implement. These children are healthy and should be at school, regardless if they have lice or nits present. They can be treated and sent back to school the next day. They should not be missing school. In conclusion, if you find out that your child has head lice, remain calm. Remember that lice do not spread disease. They are a nuisance, but they are not a health concern. Follow treatments as directed. Make sure you do the retreatments as the directions state, otherwise the infestation may not be cleared. If time allows after treatment, try to remove any nits that are remaining using a nit comb. And also remember to check your family members in the home. Thank you for joining this presentation. If you see below, there's a brochure that I have attached and also a post test that you can take to see how much information you gained from this. Thank you.